now let's talk about error handling. So we can have various types of errors in our code. So some things which like what is the type of data. In that case, you can write your code in such a way that there is no error. So, but in few cases you can't avoid that. Maybe the data is coming from some external source like user input, or maybe through some files you read the data. So that can contain unexpected type of data, or like unexpected values, and because of which your program may break. Breaking the program is not expected, right? So that is not the way we have to code. So we should handle all the errors. Like you have to think about what are the different errors that can come up, and then handle that so that your code should not break. Let me give one such example. So I would like to calculate the sum of numbers here like this. So what I do is, like, I in range 0 to length of a, or maybe even item in a also is okay to take, and then sum would be sum plus a of I, right? So this would give us sum, and sum equal to 0, and then finally we can print the sum. Instead of using just sum, I would be using sum of list, just for more relevance. So let me run it for this. I'm commenting that out. So if I run it for this, it would it ran successfully. It has given output as 60. Okay, now I added a string. So if I run it now, it should throw an error. It would be a type error. So at this level, we are trying to add an integer to a string. So that is why we got an error. So previously the sum would be 60 here till this point, and that 60 plus Python we are doing. So that would give an error. So we should avoid the having a strings here. Okay, so I mean, like, it can be only numbers. So in that case there would be an error. But sometimes you are helpless, like you may not be able to restrict your data having only integers. So what we can do here, to do integer of value, like it would convert into integer, but here there is no scope of converting into integer. So let me do that as well. Okay, so if I do int of a, again, like, we got an error that, like, Python is a kind of string which can't be converted into integer. If it is something like this, then it can be converted into integer, and it has added, you see, like 160 has come. But if it is Python, we can't be able to do that. Okay, so it would give an error. So for that reason, what we do is, so we got a value error saying that int of Python, it can't be converted. I mean, like, int of, like, inside it should be like something which can be convertible. So in this case, we know if type of a equal to string, so then you can use continue, like same way like we just discussed. So when this condition is satisfied, it wouldn't execute the below lines, it would skip it. So let me run it. Okay, so type of not a, it should be item, right? So type of a of I, you see, it has run successfully without anything, because here we know that the other newly coming element is a string which is causing this issue. Then we can put this continue. So when it comes here, so it would be type of string is continue. So continue, it would skip the lines below in that loop, it would directly come here. Okay, then okay, all these conditions are satisfied, it would finally end the loop, and sum of the list would come. But here we know that it is a string, then we are able to handle it. But this is not the case always. We may get something different other than string. Okay, let me also do that. There is a string, we are successfully able to avoid it. Let me also have some more numbers. Okay, so there may be a list inside. If I run this, again I got error, because this time maybe it has escaped this string. But when it is a list, because this one, entire thing, it would be treated as single element, right? So this is a list, type would come as a list, and list we did not give anything, we did not handle the list here. So there can be various possibilities. So one thing is you have to restrict your data. Sometimes it won't be in your hands. I'm going to remove this and then use Python way of handling errors. So which is use try except. So what this would do is, let's see if it would give an error. It did not. What happened over here is, so when this would execute just like normal loop, if there is no error till that point, just like it would execute what is there inside this try. And then once if there is any error which occurred in this, so inside this try, so then it would immediately not break the program. It would start executing the except. So inside except, whatever is there, those lines of code will execute. Let me write like where it has skipped. You can see it has skipped for this Python and even this list. So for these elements it has skipped, and then finally sum of list has come, skipping these elements. The rest of the elements it has come. You want to know what is a error, so you can also do that by writing like this. So exception as e. So and then, so this exception of e, like this would catch up our error, like what error it has occurred, and that error it would store in this e, and this e we are printing here. So print error e. So what has occurred, it would only store the last line, I mean the line like which it has come, right? So previously you see this is the error, right? So this it would copy. So first time when using this Python, it was an error because intent string are we are trying to combine, and next time it has skipped that, and next time we got an error that like intent list are going to combine, like for that reason we got an error. This is one useful way to understand what are the different errors we are facing in our program. You don't want to handle all kinds of error, only maybe type error you want to handle, and the rest of the error you just want to give, because you also want to know what are the different errors where it can break as well. Some cases it just while debugging usually. So in that time what we can also do is, instead of exception is like all kinds of error. So we can also specify what error you want to handle it and how you want to handle it as well. So if it is only type error, we are able to handle it, and if it is some other error, I mean if it is a value error, let's say you want to handle it differently. So it just like it would seem like if and else condition, but we can use something like that. It need not be continue always. You can even break in case if you got any unexpected error. It depends on use case, like what you expect. So like, or maybe there are like various errors actually. So there is a keyboard interrupt error, I mean through a user interruption if you give, and like control C in your system, like you want to handle that as well. And I mean if you put that, even if you put control C, your program wouldn't break. It would just go into this except and execute this thing and again continue. So that is a little critical thing, like because if you put a infinite loop and then inside if you put this keyboard interruption, right? So even if you try to interrupt like how we did earlier, see, it wouldn't stop. So it would just like go into this except and again continue inside that loop. So that is one very tricky thing. So even here if it is kept like exception and then continue, and if it is in while loop, still the same, it would just print that there is an error because of keyboard interruption, but again it would continue running all this. It should be handled very carefully, like how you write it. So we can also write like except in such cases you can write except, so keyboard interrupt actually. So and then at that point you break it. If you put this break, so then if it catches any keyboard interrupt, anyway though you have this handling, and it should be kept in a priority, because if that is executed then the below things won't execute, right? So if it is a keyboard interrupt, then it would break, right? So this way we can write it. So if it is break, then it would come out of the loop. You can search for your error what you got. Like usually the case is you run it without any error handling and then find out what are the different kinds of error, like how we did here, right? So type error or value error, like what we got, and then write your code to handle that kind of error.